Hello and greetings, fellow StarCrafters, and welcome back to a one-off. This is actually a ladder match between coLCatZ and EGIdra. EGIdra, well-known player, actually just casted a couple of his games, and people evidently love Idra casts, and I do too, actually. Idra's a very good player, and of course he rages a lot when he loses, especially if he gets cheesed. He's well known for that. I will say that I haven't seen him do that often, and if he feels that someone's a good player, he is extremely courteous to them and very nice to them, and it was really like a treat watching him compete in all sorts of different types of tournaments, as he does compete in basically as many types of tournaments as he can. He actually used to compete in the GSL, wasn't able to do that anymore. I think there were just too many tournaments in North America that he had to give up by going to the GSL, and so he decided to compete in those instead. But a very good player, very macro-oriented Zerg, and just a good player overall. This map is Tal'Darim Altar. Very, very large map. 4 watchtowers in the middle. You know, here, and here. And then weird kind of hexagons in the middle. I think probably beehives. Bees of some sort have colonized parts of this planet, and so there's probably some sort of queen bee at some point there. Anyway, I don't really get the hexagon terrain, but anyway, it's very interesting. This map allows for a relatively fast expansion as it's relatively well guarded. There's not too big of an entrance into it, as well as there's this ramp to defend if you so choose, but you can of course go around that ramp, and then there's rocks guarding a full third right here. The rocks didn't used to exist when this map was first created, but this had to add the rocks. We see both players going for a hatch first. It's useful to note that. When both players go for a hatch first, obviously it's a mirrored build. It also makes the game, I think the game becomes more interesting. It's a little bit more macro-oriented, but the main thing is that they don't have to get banelings right away, because when one player gets a hatchery and the other player doesn't, the defender has to get banelings, otherwise they get overrun by Zerglings. We do see, oh, never mind, okay. I was going to say, Idra's spawning pool, it is a little faster, but it's just a little bit faster. As I was saying, the rocks didn't used to be here, but they decided it was too easy to take a third, and so they decided to switch out of that and make it so you had to have rocks. You have to destroy the rocks first before you can expand. There is a overlord going south there to scout out that base. Meanwhile, the drone is going to go cross positions. Oh no, he did actually pop over there and see if there was anything going on, and able to see that there was nothing there. That's interesting. He kind of bounced back real quick. I don't think that rally point was quite all. Oh, I see. He turned him around because the overlord was able to spot the creep. Very nice move from coLCatZ, and now the overlord just going to slide out just a little bit. The interesting thing with Zerg vs Zerg is that actually until very late game, you can keep your overlord, or relatively like late game, like 12, 13 minutes. Sometimes even later than that, you can actually keep your overlords pretty much anywhere on the map except for in your opponent's base, where they can obviously be killed by queens, and it helps you keep tabs on your opponent's movement. And so most likely you're going to see overlords sitting over the overpass here, and probably like these positions here to see like if these units moving out and stuff like that. And so it's very important to be able to watch overlord placement in ZvZ. Both players still getting queens. Do we see a queen out already? We don't see a queen out already. So actually, coLCatZ is only getting 1 queen, whereas Idra is getting 2, which is going to put coLCatZ a little bit behind. He's also getting a spine crawler, which means he's possibly expecting aggression from Idra. Ooh, able to get a free Zergling kill? Yeah, able to get a free Zergling kill. However, Idra is going to get in for scouting. He sees the spine crawler. He sees the lack of a queen, actually. I don't know if that's anything, if that's much of a giveaway. And then this drone is going to go down here. This Zergling is going to go down here. And actually, he's getting a lot of free scouting information right now. Idra did a great job there, able to spot everything that's coming from his opponent, see that there was not a roach's nest, there is not a roach's nest, and actually then able to hide him. So if coLCatZ doesn't notice this, that could be very effective there. Zerglings are now engaging now. coLCatz's Zerglings are just a little bit better concaved by Idra's. Accidentally put the weak one up front. But his speed is going to finish just a hair before Idra's, and so he is in fact going to be able to get away. Meanwhile, we see Baneling's Nest from both players, so I think there should be a lot of Baneling Zergling action. Baneling Zergling action is incredibly micro-oriented. You have to be super careful with your Banelings and make sure that, with your Zerglings, and make sure that they're well positioned. Meanwhile, you have to make sure that your Banelings don't get picked off by 1 Zergling each. That's not as big of a loss, but a single Baneling can kill like 30 Zerglings if it's perfectly placed. And so you have to be super careful with your Zerglings. They die in 1 hit to a Baneling if they don't have Carapace. Meanwhile, oh wow, nice job from EGIdra. He got the scout off again, and not only that, he saw the banelings morphing, and he was able to attack one, but the queen was able to finish him off. Very great job, though, by being able to get that scouting information. That scouting information is super valuable, and EGIdra was not able to pick off that drone before it got away. Meanwhile, we do have a baneling there. Oh, nice baneling! Able to kill six zerglings. I would say it's definitely a good use from the baneling. On the other hand, it's not the biggest loss in the world for EGIdra. EGIdra just has a couple of banelings for defense here to stop any sort of baneling run, or zergling run by rather. And in fact, we do have a zergling run by. If he runs one in though, actually, and the baneling explodes on him, then that would be a good trade. Not going to happen though. The spine crawler whacks him in the face, pokes out his eye, and able to use the queen there to be able to take out EGIdra's overlord. And actually, ooh. Oh, able to get it, but is he going to be able to save the queen too? And it looks like, yes, he will be able to save the queen. He's got a baneling backing up 3 zerglings, and so EGIdra's going to back off. EGIdra is getting a lair, and yep, missile weapons, very common to go heavy roaches. That's what like the mid game looks like in the Zerg versus Zerg, is lots of roaches fighting each other, just because roaches are so cost effective for Zerg players, so they like to get as many roaches as possible, and they're not too gas heavy either, and so it's easy to mass them without like utilizing too much of your gas, which for Zerg players, gas is very important to maintain. It's very hard to, they're a very gas intensive race rather, which I suppose every race is. Able to whack that zergling again. All he was able to see was 3 banelings, and EGIdra is starting to work on the rocks, but so is coLCatZ. coLCatZ a little bit slower. He's got a couple less zerglings on it. He probably has actually less zerglings overall anyway. Meanwhile, we see a lot of roaches coming off from EGIdra. As I said, it was fairly common, but I think EGIdra is actually going to be ahead of roach production for a little while. It's possible coLCatZ is going to catch up, actually. coLCatZ has a lot of resources stocked up. He just doesn't have the larva, and he's currently supply blocked as well. So when we see some overlords pop, we should see a bunch of more roaches being built as well. And yeah, we do see the roaches coming as well. Now able to use the roaches on the rocks, so to be much faster. Roaches, of course, deal pretty high damage, actually. They do 8 DPS, it's just 8 damage per second each, which is pretty good, and they do, it's one shot of 16 damage every 2 seconds. Very effective. What do I hear? Oh, we got a scouting overlord from EGIdra. EGIdra, again, keeping proper tabs as his opponent. He's able to see the roach's nest. He's able to see the evolution chamber jiggling, which indicates that it's researching something. And is he even going to lose the overlord? He might not even lose the overlord. You also see that in a typical game, you'd have creep tumors basically going everywhere in order to be able to spread out your army. And actually, a timing attack from EGIdra. Oh, this is a timing attack from coLCatZ, actually. I was going to say it'd be very effective because his weapons is done, so that's a big upgrade. Each weapons attack increases their damage by 2. I was going to say they're not doing creep tumors, but it's Zerg versus Zerg. It helps your opponent as much as it helps you, and so they just use overlords temporarily to increase their creep to help themselves move out, but this is going to be canceled for sure. I don't think he's going to be able to save this. Yep, canceled. And does not want to send those overlords or those roaches in, and the roaches are going to get picked up. He's going to sacrifice 3 roaches there. Not the biggest deal in the world, but in the ZvZ everything makes a difference. And actually, EGIdra could have lost those roaches as well, but he might be able to pick off that roach. Nope, not able to be done. And looks like, I wonder if EGIdra's just going to follow him into his base. Is he? EGIdra does have the advantage. He knows right now that he's up 1 to nothing in terms of weapons, and so EGIdra knows that his army's more cost efficient than his opponent's, and that the roach count, I believe, is relatively similar. Oh no, actually, wow, EGIdra's 12 more roaches, so definitely would be a good time to move out for EGIdra. EGIdra doesn't necessarily know this. Meanwhile, we do see infestors coming out again. It's time, so that the pathogen glands, let them start with more energy. We'll finish before the infestors pop, so that way the infestors will start with enough energy to fungal growth. So as soon as those infestors finish, actually, EGIdra's army is going to be considerably less effective. But as of right now, EGIdra's a lot more roaches, and so he's just going to do a little battle here. coLCatZ cramming as many roaches as he can up into the top to make sure that all of his units are firing. He doesn't want to have only his units not be firing, and EGIdra with his upgrade is able to deal a lot of damage here. Able to kill a decent amount of drones, and he's going to be able to pick off the hatchery as well. It remains to be seen if he's going to move in. We do have the infestors are done, and are the infestors going to get in? No fungal growth possible. And I believe it's out of range as well anyway. And EGIdra's just going to scuttle back to his little base. coLCatZ army now, it does have weapons finished